Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and we're going to be doing another indie horror spotlight. I have with us today writer and director of a movie that's streaming on Amazon and Tubi. Majority of the streaming service right now is called All Through the House. I have Todd Nunez with us today. Todd, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Glad to talk to you.
Absolute pleasure. So tell us a little bit about All Through the House.
All Through the House is a Christmas slasher movie. I actually, when I was in high school, believe it or not, I did a play about a killer slasher Santa Claus.
Really?
Yes. I was always doing. I even did a Friday the 13th. I turned it into a stage play and Friday the 13th Part 2. And then I started thinking, you know what? I'm going to start doing my own horror movies on stage. And so one of the first ones I did was a Christmas slasher play about a killer Santa Claus called Santa's Sleigh, which later on somebody actually did a movie with the title. But I did it first back when I was in high school. So I always sort of had that in me. Like I always wanted to do my take on it, my spin on old killer Saint Nick.
So what stands out about your killer Saint Nick?
Well, my killer Saint Nick. If you haven't seen the movie yet, there is something pretty. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's something really outlandish. Really sets him apart from every other killer Santa Claus. I mean, he sort of has a nickname that's going around. So when you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And part of the reason for that was because we were doing a low budget movie and I didn't want it to get lost, so I knew that I would have to make it controversial in some way to keep people talking about it. So I knew some people were going to be turned off, so I didn't mind that as long as people were talking about it or arguing about it. That's what I wanted.
Great. And I mean, I had a chance to watch the trailer, and so it looks like there's going to be a little bit of gore
in
this one.
A lot.
And it also looks like there's going to be a little bit of titties in it, too. So
you know what? What's a slasher film without some boobies? Yeah, they're all over the place in it, for sure. For sure.
A lot of filmmakers, like the new indie filmmakers, they are trying to go with the 80s slashers, but they're like, I don't want to put nudity in it. And I'm like, but how can you not have an 80s slasher type film and not have the boobies in it?
Yeah, I mean, it was all part, you're Halloween, Friday the 13th. I mean, all the first, they all did it.
Yes.
I think obviously to appeal to teenagers, but I'm sure there was like a deeper meaning to it, a vulnerability about it, being naked, and I think that had a lot to do with Psycho, introducing that first with that shower scene, and like what's scarier than being attacked when you are completely defenseless.
I totally agree. Now, how long have you been in the film industry?
Well, I've always been in some way, shape, or form. I went to film school. I was doing plays. I actually just got done doing a reality show about like a survivor in a ghost town. So I dabble in a lot of things, writing graphic novels, but this is my main passion.
Okay. Now, over the time, with streaming becoming the main means that people watch cinema, unfortunately the DVD era is pretty much dead. The theater is on life support.
Yeah. Streaming
is the way. Now, do you think that streaming, what do you think is next? It's always something next. Outside of streaming, especially with the theaters on life support, probably going to die in the next couple of years. Is streaming going to be the platform for the next couple of decades, do you think?
Well, I mean, definitely streaming's not going anywhere, but there is a different trend going on with the theaters. And if you've noticed, there's been quite a few independent horror movies made for like $250,000 going and getting small theatrical releases and bringing in a profit. And so maybe we're going to be going back to lower budgeted movies. There's been this like fight between, is it low budget or is it just the high budgets that do theatrical?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is getting people to go out? But people are going out for these lower budget horror movies in particular. And it's probably out of any genre, the one that would survive, because there really is a charm to seeing a movie that doesn't have millions of dollars put into it, just gritty, you know, back to what it used to be.
You're correct. You've definitely seen that, especially with the Terrifier, even the Winnie the Pooh movie came out. Talk to Me, which is a great one that just came out. Even Ty West X series, X Pearl. Those are excellent movies.
Oh yeah, excellent movies.
So with it being so easy for new filmmakers to get their movies out with streaming services, do you think that's going to water down the arena?
Well, you know, it certainly can, because there are, you know, as long as you have something that's so many minutes long and you can slap a poster on it and then people will do that initial watch, you know, which what they're going through. I think that the main thing is the staying power. And that is what I was concerned about going into this. I didn't want to just have that one big, you know, month. I wanted it to keep going. What can we do? You know, Christmas horror movie. How can we make it controversial? You know, we're going to put half of our budget on gore. You know, all these boxes like we were checking to make sure that we would hopefully have something with a little bit of staying power.
And that's amazing. I'm by the way, I'm checking it out now that I know it's on Tubi. I'm definitely gonna be checking it out this week because the trailer looks amazing. Now, I don't know if you can talk about this. Is there a opening for a sequel?
Well, I mean, in every horror movie, there's always a opportunity, right?
We find our way, yes.
Yeah, you find a way, the killer never dies. However, you know, there were certain things that I didn't want to do. Like I definitely wanted to, you know, make it familiar enough, but I didn't want to do certain things like, you know, the killer's eyes open at the end. You know, I wanted to sort of do it a different way, that you could still sort of lead to the possibility of a continuation without doing it in that exact way. Or the tripping and falling down. Like some things I didn't go for, but then definitely there were other aspects that I wanted to make sure that I incorporated.
Now, the stereotypes that have always been in classic 80s slashers, you know, the tripping, the falling down, the black guy dies first. If you have sex, you die. If you're an asshole, you just die. I've always told people, I was like, if you think about those, except for the black person dying first, but it's always been like, if you think about it, it's been the do's and don'ts that they kind of instilled on teenagers. Don't have sex. Don't do drugs. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a bad person. Don't pick up hitchhikers. And a lot of that actually falls into with Christianity in a weird way. And a lot of Christians had issues with horror movies, but if you think about it, it's actually talking about a lot of what they're talking about.
Yeah, you know, a lot of my films and ones that I'm developing have an aspect of Christianity in them. There's so many. There's just, it's, you know, growing up, I'm Christian, and, you know, the Bible, religion scared me.
It's a horror movie.
I mean, far more
horror stories
scaring me than it was the other way around. You know, things, once you get older and you're able to sort of like, you know, figure things out. Some people don't ever, but if you do, then you can sort of see the good aspect of that. But yeah, Christianity's scary, but Santa Claus is also scary.
Santa Claus is scary. If you think about it, you have a creepy guy who's breaking into your house and he's watching over you all the time throughout the years to know if you're good or bad. And yeah, he knows where you're at, and it's kind of creepy.
It is. I think it just adds to the mystique of him, though. I think it just makes him more appealing. When you're a kid, you have this conflict within you, this, you know, this excitement to see him, but then this other part of you, this warning of don't talk to strangers, and who is behind that mask, and your parents are like, go,
Yeah.
talk to a stranger. Just something about it just doesn't make sense.
Even going to the mall, I remember going to the mall and the Christmas, and then Santa Claus is always set up at the mall. Like, I was like thinking to myself, like, boy, my parents were okay with me sitting on some strange man's lap.
Exactly. Any all does it. I mean, Santa is a perfect horror movie villain.
It's an amazing horror movie villain. All right, so filmmaking wise, what have been some horror directors or horror movies that you got inspiration over time?
Well, of course, I love the Halloween and Friday the 13th. Those movies really impacted me when I was a kid. But before I saw Halloween, the scariest movie that I had ever seen was The Wizard of Oz. And I was terrified of the witch. She scared me so much. And when I saw Halloween for the first time, I was watching it with a bunch of adults and other kids, and we were around the TV, HBO, something like that. I had no idea what I was getting into, and it scared the crap out of me. And hearing everybody scream and everybody, it was just an amazing experience. And for some reason, it really touched me. It's so my whole family was just involved with this, and we were like a team, and we were screaming for Jamie to run, and it was amazing. And I was stuck ever since then. And I don't think that I necessarily would have, because like I said, I like The Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm. And I grew up in the '80s, and at 4, 5, 6 years old, my parents, we had movie night, and whatever they wanted to watch is what we watch. And majority of the time, it was either action movies or horror movies. And it's kind of weird now that like parents shelter their kids from watching horror movies at a young age. Now, I'm not saying, listen, some horror movies I wouldn't show my kid.
Yes.
I wouldn't show them the Terrifier
No,
movie.
I was just thinking that. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, that would probably be a bit. That's not really a family movie.
Yeah, and I had a whole disagreement with a woman who said, my daughter loves Terrifier, and she's 6 years old. I'm like, oh my God, you're a bad parent. Like, you're a bad parent.
Too much.
It's too much. That's traumatizing.
Nothing against the film, but that's
Yes, nothing against the film, but like, there's an age with that,
Yeah.
But a lot of the classic horror movies, yes, my parents would make me turn my head anytime boobs were shown.
Yes.
Which was weird that I had to turn my head for boobs showing, but somebody getting a head cut off. Oh, that was perfectly fine to see.
Yeah, that's fine. Watch somebody get tortured, but a pair of boobs,
No, we got to turn your head for that one.
Which is hilarious.
I talked to a lot of people who grew up in the '80s, and it was always boobs come on, you got to turn your head, but somebody getting massacred or, murdered, that's perfectly fine to watch.
Yeah, and that happened when I was growing up, because then I had younger siblings. So I'd already been experienced to Halloween and Friday the 13th, and I was like obsessed. So they literally grew up on, like me when I was little, like I watched, Foo Foo La La, Happy Stuff, Willy Wonka and all of that. But they were right off the bat. They were introduced to it, and they're fans to this day as well. My sister, she's a scream queen. She does horror movies, and it's a family thing now. Even my mom, which at first she didn't want me watching them, and then suddenly, as we were growing up, she became my horror movie partner, and we'd go to the video stores, the VHS stores, and look and pick out the horror movie for the weekend.
And that's the same thing with me. My mom was the horror fan out of my parents, and like, she introduced me to horror. We should go and rent the Full Moon B movies, and like, that's how I got introduced to horror. But one thing I can say, as a kid watching horror movies growing up, I think I didn't get into certain bad situations because I watched horror movies and I was such a fan. Like, I would never pick up a hitchhiker.
Of course, yeah.
I didn't do drugs in high school. You know, there was just certain things I didn't do because I was like,
That's
I don't want to
interesting.
get murdered.
I have the same feelings about that, and I actually did the same thing. Like, I'm not doing drugs. I'm not drinking and be, all like that when Jason
Exactly.
shows up. That's not
I didn't
happening.
have my first. I didn't have my first taste of alcohol until I was 21 years old. Being dead serious, didn't have any alcohol until I was 21 years old. That's a lot, 20, but close enough.
Uh,
Adult,
three for me.
adult. And but there were certain things. I mean, I remember even one time, like when I was in high school, like some friends of mine were having a party in the woods, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come?" I was like, "Oh, hell's no! That sounds like a that
That
sounds
sounds like a horror movie.
it sounds like a horror movie." It was just certain things I would not do. It just sound like a horror movie. It sounded like a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I completely agree.
You
And I
know?
would be there, scaring everybody.
Yes.
I was always the one.
But I just feel like I feel like certain horror movies I feel like it's okay for parents to show because there are bad things out there. There's bad people out there, and those movies do kind of give you the survival tactics to stay out of certain bad situations.
Yeah, and also, you know what? I mean, for me, like once you get older, the horror movies don't scare you as much, right?
Correct.
You find different things about them to appreciate. But as a kid, I mean, that is the time to watch horror movies, to be able to have that experience. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world, remembering what it was like when I watched Halloween. And I remember watching Prom Night at the drive with my mom and my dad, and I was in the back seat, going like this, looking over them, and just being terrified and
Yes.
screaming. And I think was really special, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, that's the only time I was actually really scared of horror movies as a
Yeah,
kid. I mean, it adds to that aspect. Like even going to haunted houses, yeah, they're fun as an adult, but as a kid, they were amazing. Like you were actually screaming, you were terrified of what was going
yes,
on, and
yes,
that's what horror movies are meant for. That's what haunted houses are meant for, you to
yeah.
actually be scared.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I love haunted houses. I've done haunted houses.
Me too. I worked one last year for the first time. It was fun.
Really? Oh, it's
Yeah,
so much fun. Yeah, scaring people is just became an obsession of mine also.
it's mine too. I love scaring people. Everybody hates it, but I'm
Yeah.
the guy who jumps out and
Oh
scares
boy,
people
fun to
all the
laugh
time.
afterwards.
Yes, it's so much fun to me. So, are there any new filmmakers out there that you like Ty West?
I was just gonna say Ty West. I really love Ty West. Um, there's a lot of filmmakers. I love. I'm really really impressed with a lot of the really indie filmmakers.
Mhm.
People who are able to. People don't really understand what it takes to make a movie, even if you watch it and you don't really like it. I mean, a lot of people will compare an indie movie to the Titanic. That wasn't as
Yeah,
good as the Titanic. Well, obviously it's a different type of movie, but what goes into it and what it takes to finish it, to get it out there, to do all of that, that I think is an incredible feat for so little money. So many people that did. We did All Through the House for very little money and very little time to film it. And a lot of people don't realize that.
from what I've seen, it doesn't. That's a shocker.
Well, it took a lot of planning,
Okay.
a lot of pre-planning. Everything was done up ahead of time. We knew exactly what we were doing, so we just went in and we did it. But we didn't have the luxury of doing 3 or 4 takes. It was like, is it in focus? Okay, let's move on.
Now, how long did it take to film?
The majority we filmed in, oh gosh, I hate to say it, but we filmed the majority of it in 6 days.
Wow.
And then there were some scenes we had to do pickup shots that we did on the weekends, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that.
Okay. Now, you can't talk a lot about this, but you have something in the works, Death Ward 13. So,
Yes.
tell me what you can tell us.
Well, I can tell you that we are back doing it. We had a lot of setbacks, COVID, the writer strikes. It's like, you know, we had everything in place. We had studio funding in place, and then when COVID hit, it really screwed us over. Nobody, you know, had the confidence in an indie movie that, you know, following all the COVID protocols, it was just way too expensive. And then, of course, those investors move on to other projects before, you know, we come back to them. And then, so we had a lot of setbacks, but now we're ready to get back into the saddle again. We're really excited. It's a great project. It's not a project that's going to be done in 6 days. Like, there's going to be time spent on it, and we're really going to be able to show everybody what we can do. You know, people got to see what we could do under time constraint, money constraints, but we're going to show them what we can do now. Okay. So we're real excited about that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Well, the story is a remake of a cult classic movie called Don't Look in the Basement. So we sort of follow that premise, but in the movie Don't Look in the Basement, there's a very famous twist that happens in the movie. And so to me, that was always sort of the crutch of doing a remake. How do you do a remake and make it exciting when everybody already knows the twist? Mm-hmm. So it really came down to working it out and figuring out that, okay, so we do this, their twist, we do it early. And then I bring in another twist and I turn it all on its head. So I really, you know, respect the original by delivering another twist that's going to be just as shocking.
Awesome. Do we have a potential release date for?
No, we don't have a potential release date, but we have a potential film start, which would be in May. So It wouldn't be too far off. We're going to be moving things pretty quickly because of how far we got behind.
Okay. Definitely, I'll check that one out.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole different ball game.
Yes. All right. So, Todd, I'm going to do something fun. I don't know if you've seen my interviews before, but towards the end, I like to ask 2 random questions about horror. Okay. Since it's Horror Channel. First one is going to be, what was the, well, you answered the question. You said Halloween was the first horror movie that you saw that scared the shit out of you, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What is the first horror movie that scared the shit out of you as an adult?
As an adult, wow, that scared me as an adult. That's hard. You know, I usually try to go in and I try to make myself get scared. Like, not make myself, but I really try to invest myself in any horror movie that I watch. I don't try to fight it. I'm not the cool guy. No, I want it to get to me. Too. And I want it to be scary. So I really immerse myself in the experience. But I'm not sure what was I don't think I really have.
How about Disturbed you? How about Disturbed you?
Disturbed Terrifier. Disturbed me.
That shit was disturbing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? That's their
gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, working for him, you know.
It is.
Art the Clown is a great villain.
Excellent villain.
He looks great. He is really, really great. It didn't scare me, but maybe like some of it was a little disturbing. Yeah. If I think about it, you know, what's interesting is that movies that actually bother me are demonic movies. Like, everybody is so surprised when I tell them that I have never seen The Exorcist. Now, I saw like the first it's in film school, but I just don't want to see that. I don't want to have that kind of stuff in my head. I don't really watch those types of movies. Although, like Conjuring, I watched those, but for some reason, like The Exorcist, like the remake, I'm not gonna go see that either.
But people laugh at me because I said the movie that scared me the shit out of me, and I'm a fan of this series. That scared the shit out of me as an adult is Paranormal Activity. And they're like, Paranormal Activity? And the reason why is because that's something I feel like that could be real. You know what I mean? Like,
well, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like ghosts and spirits and demons and shit. I feel like that is real. I feel like that's around us. And I feel like when you start messing with stuff like that, and you start playing with Ouija boards and stuff like that, once you start entertaining stuff like that, yeah, I feel like that stuff, you can awaken that stuff and it can come out. serial killer, zombie guy walking in and killing me. I mean, that's demons, spirits, stuff like that. Freak me out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me too. I'd much rather see people getting their heads chopped off.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because I mean I watched the Paranormal Activity and I swear that night I just heard shit in my fucking house all night.
Yeah.
I just heard random shit in my house and I'm like, oh fuck.
Like, it followed me. It
Yep.
followed me.
And The Ring too. The Ring fucked me up too. The Ring
Was good. Yeah, I
yeah.
thought that was really good. The first Ring was a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the second one didn't do anything, but that first Ring was disturbing.
Yeah, yeah, really good movie.
Second question. They've been doing a lot of remakes. You're doing a remake, reboot. What's a movie they haven't made a reboot of, and you question yourself, why not?
Well, like for me, I would love. There are certain movies that I would love to remake,
mm-hmm.
just because I feel like when you do a remake, you got to have some essence of the original, something that because that's what made that movie good. That's what made it memorable. Like, what is it about? So you feel like you're getting another piece of that movie and not just the name, which I've seen a lot. It's just like, okay, well, that was the name of the movie, but it was nothing like the movie at all. But you also want to give something new and different and bring an excitement to it, expand on the idea, go places with the idea that they didn't originally do. And that's the kind of thing that I like to do with remakes. I don't want to see the same movie, but I do want to feel like they're related in a way. So I would love, I love the movie Hell Night with Linda Blair. It was one of my favorites 80s classic movies. I would love to see that one redone. Right. I think they tried a couple of times. It just never worked. And just about every 80s movie that hasn't been redone, I want to bring it back.
Night of the Demon. I don't know if you've ever seen
it. My God, Night of the Demon. Yeah, that movie. That was one of the goriest movies I'd seen, I think, until that point. It was because it was on VHS, right?
Yes.
And didn't even know what I was getting into.
Didn't either.
Right? And you can't stop watching it.
Yes. I wish the right director filmmaker would make a reboot of that. Not a sequel, a reboot. I don't know what that would look like in the year 2023 or going forward, but that's one of the ones that, like, it's a great cult classic horror movie.
Absolutely.
And like, if you're a real horror fan, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
And I'm surprised no one has tried to reboot that.
No, not that I know. I know there was a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it had that big of appeal outside of the horror community.
Yeah.
But a lot of horror movies didn't, that they remade. House on Priority Row. I mean, I don't think that
Hitcher didn't have a big. I love the original Hitcher. Just the
right.
Wasn't
no, the original Hitcher. I mean, that's again, it's just like not being able to capture the essence of that first one that made it so dynamic. Like, you were on the edge of your seat with that.
You really were. And
then when they remade it, you just they lost the mojo of. They did a remake of Poltergeist, which was just another movie that it just didn't do it. I think when you start going too far away from the source material, like I said, I really feel like you need to just dive deeper into what's there and show us aspects and avenues that they didn't explore.
Also, too, you got to modernize it, but don't to the point where, like you're saying, take away from, like, the Hitcher. I get it. I don't even think they should have even rebooted that, because no one was picking up hitchhikers in the 2000s.
Makes it hard, right?
It makes it hard.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to go with that idea, but not be a hitchhiker. And how do you do that? Maybe it's a passenger and you're a Lyft driver or something,
Yeah. I mean, that's the what the fun about doing a remake is trying to find out, you know, those reasons. How do you make it work today?
Correct.
You know, unless it takes place, you know, a lot of movies are taking place in the 80s and in the 70s.
But in the 80s, yeah.
Which is, you know, great because you don't have to worry about cell phones. You don't have to worry about, you know, all that other stuff. Because I got no signal, you know, that we hear that all the time. It totally takes me out of it, but what else can you do?
Yes. I tell people all the time, I said the one of the best reboots I've seen was the Friday the 13th. And
that one.
It's probably, if not my favorite, my second favorite part.
You know, there are people who don't like it, who hate it, and I don't understand it. I'm like, wow, it really checked all the Friday the 13th boxes.
It did.
And talk about, like, you know, the Jason lived underground, which that's what I'm talking about when you talk about other avenues that they didn't explore before. Where is Jason all this time? And then they answer it. He lives underground. It's like perfect.
And how was he able to get from one place to another place so quickly? Yeah. Underground tunnels.
He got underground. Yeah, see, I like that a lot.
Yeah. And a lot of people bash that movie. I'm like, no, I mean, like,
I don't know why. I thought it was fun from the beginning to the end. I really, really enjoyed it.
Because that series was filled with a lot of stinkers. I mean, there's a lot of stinkers in that series. And for people to bash that one, I'm like, really? How about Manhattan and Jason Go to Hell and all that? Like, this is the one you decide to bash?
No, I mean, I'm a huge Friday fan. In fact, I've got Jason now. But it's really, for me, it's 1 through 4 are the ones that I revisit all the time, that I really, really love. And I think that, the Friday the 13th remake really, you know, really spoke to those films.
It was 1 through, I think it pretty much covered 1 through 3 in one movie.
Yeah, they did. They did parts of all of those in there. And 4.
And 4, yeah. So, I mean, I think, listen, it's my favorite. It might be my favorite Friday the 13th movie because it was so good. And that Jason was menacing. Derek Mears, who plays him, was a menacing Jason.
Great job. Great shots. I really
guy running fast, smart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Jason. All right, Todd. So wherever can everyone find you, my friend?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I am on Twitter. All you gotta do is put my name in, Todd Nunes, and I will pop up.
Awesome. Well, everybody, when you get a chance, go on to Tubi, Amazon, check out All Through the House. I am, and look out in the future for Death Ward 13.
Yes.
Todd, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
Chatting with you, I really did.
It's no problem at all. Oh, and by the way, I'm gonna give a plug to the Slasher app.
People. I hope it's growing.
It is.
It really is. So I think it's a great app.
Yes, amazing app. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.